Good morning. It is Sunday the 19th of September and the sun is out. I'm actually hoping it's going to go behind a cloud because the light balance here isn't great. It was behind a cloud until a moment ago. So what I'm going to cover today is lots of teachers are moving on to teaching column addition and subtraction. So I'm going to give you my 3 top tips nice and quickly to help you clarify some essential points in your head. And just to give you a sneaky preview of what they are how to teach the visual bit or the pictorial bit of CVA or CPA for column addition and subtraction. Why you should work from left to right. And Mahmood, that's distracting. I am still not getting you a visa. Obviously, if you have your questions, do post sensible questions. And if you just want to say hi, that's fine. So the via CVA, the working left to right. Why would you work left to right when you're teaching children to work right to left? I'll explain that. And we're looking at one column at a time. How are they adding or subtracting those numbers and why it's essential to do that and to intervene if they're not doing it efficiently. Then I will talk about my best video ever by miles, which is going live at 9:30. And finally, I'll talk a bit about what's happening in politics and education in England this week because it's quite dramatic. And hopefully, maybe it's finally positive. But I know a lot of you aren't in England, so you can switch off at that bit. Right, column addition and subtraction. I have some videos which I'll link to at the end of this video, which teach you how to use apparatus, your Dean's blocks, and so on for column addition and subtraction. But if you're coming back to this with older children, you probably don't want to go there. And actually the visual bit's right. And the visual bit's the bit that's often missed. So even if children understand what they're doing with apparatus, they don't necessarily translate that when they've got worksheets that are just lots and lots of calculations. They don't take the apparatus and deeply know what's going on there. Some do, but some don't. And it's really useful to have this visual step here. This is a visual or a pictorial worksheet for column addition and subtraction. This is your most simple one, just 2 digits, no exchanging. So children are reminded that they are just trying to find the total of these 2 parts when they're doing this, and they can puzzle it out using organic strategies, work out the answers for themselves, deeply understand what's going on, and then if you set up a column addition next to it, they're going to be able to follow what's going on in your column addition where you're gathering the 10s and gathering the 1s. If you want these worksheets, they are in my Facebook group, which is Expert Primary Maths Teaching. Just go to the Files section and they're all there. They're the visual column addition and column subtraction worksheets. And they were all designed by this amazing guy, Jeff Kutcher. And if you click through on this link, you can find his site where you can get versions of these which will auto-generate more examples or show them with their answers. So as you continue with addition, the worksheets get as hard as, for example, this one, which is 3-digit addition. And there you've got a question with no exchanging. There you've got a question where you're exchanging once. Here you're exchanging once, but that's exchanging in the 1s, that's exchanging in the 10s. And here you're exchanging twice. And you can get children to puzzle these out for themselves, try and set up the column addition and deeply see what's going on. Then as we get on to column subtraction, we start to deeply understand subtraction in ways people often don't take the time to do. Where are my Cuisenaire rods? Here we go. So addition was about taking 2 parts and finding the total. Subtraction is where you're given the total and one of the parts and you're trying to find the missing part that you've not been told. And you can do that by counting on, or you can do it by starting with the total and taking off the amount that you're given to see what's left. And all of that becomes apparent in the visual stage we start with the easiest one here, 2-digit subtraction, no exchanging. 26 subtract 14. Well, you've got to find the 14 and take it off. So you might take off this 10 and this 4 and see what's left. There's a 10 and a 5, so it's 15. But you are now partitioning that 29 into the 14 and the 15. And the addition that's in the same family, the same calculation family, is clearly 14 add 15 is 29. So when we can now set up the column subtraction and see exactly what's going on in it by linking it to this picture. And again, as you move on, there's lots of other worksheets. You've got a 2-digit, exchanging once, and you've still got to partition it and deeply make sense of it. And we've got the subtraction, 3 digits. There's worksheets where you're not exchanging. There's worksheets where you're exchanging once. And then there's this mixed worksheet where you've got a bit of everything going on here. And you can pull children across to linking all of this to their column work so that they deeply understand it. So that's my first tip. You as a teacher should be able to follow this, and if you follow it, hopefully you'll want to use it as well, because that's what will take all of your children into trying to deeply understand what's going on with their column addition and their column subtraction, rather than just learn it as a method that makes no sense to them. So that was tip 1, the V of CVA, concrete, visual, abstract. We just talked about the visual. The second, work from right to left. Well, in all our calculations, apart from division, where we do work from left to right, we normally work from right to left for column addition, subtraction and multiplication, and then we swap for division. But why? Well, children need to see why. So as a teacher, it can be fantastic if you lean into a calculation doing it the other way. Hi, if you've joined us, please do say hi. If you've got questions, post them in the comments. So if you've got a calculation like 168 add 353, that one, if you actually try working left to right, 1 add 3 is 4, thank you, and then 6 add 5, well that's 11, so we've got an extra 100. We've got 11 tens, so that's 100 and 110. So we've got to go back and cross that out and turn that into a 5. And now we've got to do the 8 add 3. Well, that's 11 as well, so that's a 1 and a 10. So we'll put the 1 in there, and then we've got to go back and cross that out. And so the answer is 521. So you can make it work, but what a mess. And there are real reasons why people want to work left to right, because it gives you a much better ability to estimate answers if you focus on this method. Ooh, 400, but then that's more than 100, so my answer is over 500. But look at this. That's really impossible to read. So that's why we work right to left. And you could do this as a teacher. You could just say, right, I'm modelling this today, and this is how we do it. And you will get the children shouting at you, no, we should work right to left. And you can ask them, why should we work right to left? Talk to your, have a think, talk to your talk partner, talk in your tables. Why do we work right to left? Get them to tell you what I've just explained. And then the final thing is, so I've just explained why it's worth working left to right as a teacher, so they understand why to work right to left. The final thing is checking their strategies in single columns. Where's my board rubber gone? Did just bring it through. There it is. Excuse me. So if you've got a calculation like 268 add 317, what I'm really saying here is look in detail at what they're doing when they're adding 8 add 7. if they are counting on one at a time, it's going to be really slow and a bit of a mess. They should be able to see that 7 splitting into being a 2 that makes that up to 10 and a 5, so the answer is 15. They should be doing their additions and subtractions that go past 10 in 2 steps, not one at a time. It's a thing that teachers don't often look out for, but the reason we do work children through pages and pages of calculations like these, and why that's a good thing to do, is that in doing these calculations they're going to become fluent at their additions within 20 and then their subtractions within 20. Quite an important point. It's not just about being able to do the big algorithm, the big process. It's about being able to do those small additions, 5 add 2 is 7, fluently. And the specific sticking point is when you bridge at a 10. Most children are going to become more fluent at the calculations within 10 just by doing lots, because they can use their fingers and that's okay. And gradually they will know that 5 add 2 is 7 if they do lots of these. But when you're bridging at a 10, some children get stuck. And I have a video, fast addition and subtraction, which explains what to do if children are getting stuck there. A particular intervention that you need to spot that they need it, identify how to do it, and then get going with that intervention. So children can do column addition and subtraction and are ready to move on when they are fluent with these small calculations within 20 that they have to know as they do each column, and they deeply understand what they're doing. Excuse me. So they're my 3 top tips that you as a teacher need to keep an eye on. The visual of CVA, and all those worksheets are free in the Expert Primary Maths Teaching Facebook group. Work from left to right to explain why you need to work from right to left. But best of all, get the children to shout at you and tell you what you're doing wrong. And then check the column addition and subtractions within 20. Can they do them fluently? If they're counting on or back one at a time, then they're not ready to move on from this yet. This is column addition and subtractions where they really embed and get fluent of those calculations within 20. Hi, if you've joined us, please say hello. If you've got any questions, feel free to post them. The next thing I just want to mention is that with my channel, I have moved on. I've now published all my training, and I am focusing on promoting the work of very brilliant people around me. And this week I got to interview Alan Newland. His book has been all over the networks that I'm in. The number of recommendations for it is astonishing. Pages and pages of recommendations from new teachers, from experienced teachers, and from lots of people I've known for a long time in education, who, if they give their recommendation to a book, it's really worth reading. And I read this cover to cover and just went, wow. It so clearly explains the legal duties of teachers, the ethical duties of teachers, the moral duties of teachers, and how to build children of character. And so I interviewed Alan on Friday, and the interview is going live at 9:30 today, shortly after this live stream goes live. Well, sorry, it's live now, but shortly, in about 10 minutes. And I am so proud of this interview. I just think it's far and away the best thing I've ever done. And if you've got time to watch it, I'd love to know what you think. And if you are an educationalist who has something to share, this is what I'm doing now. So get in touch if you'd like me to do an interview with you. You don't have to be a mega brain of education like Alan Newland is. You just have to have something going on in your classroom that you want to share, and I will help you share it. You can put it into your own words, and then I will talk about how it fits within the wider theory of education, whether that's holistic education or maths education. And I'll try to take you a little bit further in your contextual understanding of what you're doing. And wow. Right, the English, I'll link to the video about that at the end of this live stream as well if you're watching it on repeat. So if you want to bypass this next bit about politicians in England in education, just go to the end of the video and you'll find the links to the other videos that I've mentioned. So we had a bit of a revolution in politics in education in England this week. And I thought you might like to know a little bit about what I've been setting out. I have regularly criticised this guy who gave us the youngest curriculum in the world, brutalised tests, tests for 6-year-olds with no apparatus, no evolution into the modern era in terms of technology, the tables check that's designed to force children to rote learn their tables instead of understanding it. And he was behind a guy, a Secretary of State for Education, who was widely considered to be one of the worst politicians we've ever had. I mean, his approval rating in his own party was astronomically low, and they have both gone. And they brought in this man, who I've come across before, because in West Cumbria we have to deal with nuclear issues. So I've come across him and he's been reasonable. But the thing that inspires me about him is that apparently, according to the Gossip Networks yesterday, he has previously worked with this guy and his demand for getting this job was that this guy went. So that impresses me about Nadhim Zahawi. And then the other thing is this guy here. He's a guy who's previously been critical of his own government on education funding and issues like that. And I'll link at the end of this as well to a video of a speech I made about education funding where I was quoting him, even though he's a Conservative politician, and praising him, really. So it's less bad than it was. Even if these guys were saints and very brilliant people, and I don't think they're quite that good, but I think they're better than what we had, they're still working in a really toxic political context. And the press have just launched in today to try and make sure that they mimic what Nick Gibb has been doing by labelling anyone who uses evidence as being a progressivist who's likely to lobby them. Well, yes, let's progress into the 21st century instead of regressing into Victorian times where we just brutalise children and ignore evidence. Thank you very much. So if I'm a progressivist, they try and portray people who use evidence as people who just sit in their classrooms and do nothing and let the kids do what they want in the press. And unfortunately, these guys are surrounded by a whole party machinery that's playing to the vote of the people who believe that stuff. So good luck to them. I wish them well. That's enough for today. My favourite ever video is going live in just under 10 minutes. So I'll get offline and try and reprocess this so it's got all the links at the end of this video that you need to go wherever you want to go. Take care, have a good week, bye for now.